In the PVS LVS run submission form, when you click the input icon, the input panel with two halves, one each for layout and schematic inputs, is displayed, with multiple fields. Let us first take a look at layout input fields. In the first half, you select the input database details like library, cell and view names. There is also a provision to select the input from the library manager. Available layout input format selections are Create GDS2, Create OASIS or use existing GDS2 or OASIS and direct read from memory. Depending on the format selection, there will be minor changes to the form. Cell name table, object name table and label map tables can be manually entered or browsed to from the custom locations. There are 4 options to convert the pin to geometry text, or ignore. There is an option to convert angular brackets to square bracket in text records, during the translation from the DF2 library to an OASIS file. The Enable Coloring selection is available only when using ICAV 12.3 or its ISR releases of Virtuoso. This is to enable the multiple mask feature in advanced nodes. When this feature is selected, Virtuoso passes the predefined mask data to PVS, and when unselected, all data on a layer is seen as if it is on the same mask. By default, Abort on Layout error is selected, which aborts the APVS run when it encounters fatal errors. The fatal errors can be missing cell masters, duplicate cell references, absolute angle for an instance placement, absolute magnification for an instance placement, absolute width parameters for a path or rule precision values that are not consistent with the input database precision. Enable Exclude Comparison Step checkbox to launch the ERC instead of LVS run. This options disables all options related to comparison step. Moving on to the schematic half under the input panel of the PVS LVS run submission form, mark the Check Schematic checkbox if you want the schematic netlist to be read early in the flow to check its integrity. In this case, if no errors are detected when reading the schematic, the flow continues. If there are errors in the netlist, PVS terminates. There are a couple of schematic format options to choose from, DF2 and Netlist. Let us start with DF2. When you specify DF2 as the schematic format, you need to set the additional fields, library, cell, and view, to make the selection. The view can either be schematic view or config view. Alternatively, you may also invoke the DF2 library manager to make the selection. To create the CDL netlist out of the schematic view, there are 4 options. Create CDL option to create a netlist using the standard CDL netlister, that is Virtuoso CDL out, AU LVS or AU CDL option to create a CDL netlist using the PVS internal netlister, or use an existing CDL netlist. There are fields to enter view list and stop lists. If you want to specify an additional Verilog, CDL or SPICE file to be used along with the DF2 database, you can select one of the options from Do Not Use Include File or Use Existing Include File, and specify the path or select Create Include File. Click on Fill from CDL out keys to fill the CDL fields with corresponding values from CDL out keys. For PVS LVS, the second option for schematic format selection is Netlist. Under this option, you need to specify the top cell name and select the netlist file type and path. The options for netlist type are Auto, CDL, SPICE and Verilog. Once you select the netlist type, enter the name of the netlist file in the text field and click Add. Alternatively, you may browse to the netlist path as well. Similarly, you can add more netlist files to your LVS run. There are additional options to remove or view the files as well. Under the CPF file field, enter the name of the common power format file to be used during the LVS run. This field is active only if Verilog netlist is used as an input.